I had the withdrawal form printed out and sitting in my bag. I had already researched nannies and interviewed 3 candidates. I had made the decision. I was pulling my son out of daycare and nothing was going to change my mind. Until everything changed. It started on a Monday morning 3 months earlier. I dropped off my son Lucas at Sunshine Valley Daycare, just like I did every weekday morning. He was 2.5, bright-eyed and full of energy, obsessed with trucks and dinosaurs and anything that made noise. The drop-off had been rough lately. He cried when I left, clinging to my legs, begging me to stay. The teachers assured me this was normal, that he calmed down within 5 minutes of my departure. But it broke my heart every single time. That particular Monday, as I was walking to my car after peeling Lucas off my body while he screamed, I saw another mother doing the same thing. Her daughter was wailing, reaching for her, and the mother had tears streaming down her face too. We made eye contact in the parking lot, 2 strangers united in this horrible guilt of leaving our crying children. She gave me a weak smile, and I nodded back, and we both got in our cars and drove to our jobs, carrying that weight with us. If you've ever questioned whether you're doing the right thing by working and using daycare, you know exactly how this feels. Please share your experience in the comments below. It helps to know we're not alone in this struggle. And if this is your first time here, please subscribe to help support this channel. Your support truly matters. The guilt ate at me all day. I checked my phone constantly, half expecting a call from the daycare saying Lucas was inconsolable, that I needed to come get him. But the call never came. At pickup time, I rushed there, anxious to see him. And when I walked into his classroom, he was playing with blocks, perfectly content, barely looking up when I arrived. Over the next few weeks, the pattern continued. Terrible drop-offs, tearful goodbyes, and then apparently happy days according to his teachers. But something felt off. Lucas started having meltdowns at home over tiny things. If his toast broke, he would scream for 20 minutes. If his favorite cup was in the dishwasher, complete breakdown. He became clingy and anxious, following me from room to room, panicking if I even went to the bathroom alone. I read articles about separation anxiety. I talked to my pediatrician, who said this was developmentally normal. I tried all the recommended strategies. Special goodbye rituals. Transition objects. Earlier bedtimes. More one-on-one time. Nothing helped. Then came the incident that almost made me pull him out entirely. I got a call at work from the daycare director, Mrs. Chen. Lucas had bitten another child. My sweet, gentle boy had bitten someone hard enough to leave a mark. I was horrified. I left work immediately and drove to the daycare, my mind racing. What was happening to my son? Was daycare turning him aggressive? Was he being bullied? Was this environment damaging him? When I arrived, Mrs. Chen sat me down in her office. She explained that Lucas and another boy, Tyler, had both reached for the same toy truck. Tyler had grabbed it first, and Lucas had bitten his arm. The bite hadn't broken skin, but it was definitely not acceptable behavior. They had separated Lucas immediately, talked to him about using words instead of teeth, and called me as protocol required. I asked to see Lucas. When they brought him to the office, his face was red and blotchy from crying. He climbed into my lap and buried his face in my neck. I could feel his little body trembling. I held him while Mrs. Chen explained their behavior policy, their expectations, and the consequences if biting happened again. On the drive home, I asked Lucas why he bit Tyler. He couldn't really explain it. He just kept saying, "My truck." I wanted my truck. I tried to talk to him about using words, about how biting hurts people, but he was too young to really grasp it. He just kept crying and saying he was sorry. That night, after Lucas went to bed, I sat at the kitchen table with my husband Marcus and said the words I'd been thinking for weeks. I want to pull him out of daycare. Marcus looked at me, surprised. Because of the biting incident. Because of everything. The crying at drop-off. The meltdowns at home. And now this. He's not himself. Daycare is changing him. And not in a good way. Marcus was quiet for a moment. What would we do? We both work full-time. We can't afford for one of us to quit. We could hire a nanny. Or maybe I could work part-time. Or work from home more. I don't know, but we'll figure it out. I just know I can't keep doing this. I can't keep leaving him somewhere that's making him so unhappy. We stayed up late that night, running numbers, looking at our budget, researching options. It would be tight financially, but we could make it work. The relief I felt after making that decision was enormous. I didn't have to feel guilty anymore. I didn't have to leave my crying child. I could keep him safe at home where he belonged. I started interviewing nannies the next day. I found a nice woman named Sandra who had great references and experience with toddlers. We were going to start the transition the following Monday. I had 1 week left of taking Lucas to daycare, and then we would be done. But then something unexpected happened. It was Thursday afternoon, and I arrived for pickup a few minutes early. Instead of going straight to Lucas's classroom like I usually did, I stopped by the bathroom first. When I came out, I could see into the classroom through the observation window in the door. And what I saw stopped me in my tracks. Lucas was sitting at a small table with 3 other children. They were doing some kind of art project with finger paints. Lucas's teacher, Miss Rachel, was sitting with them, laughing and talking. And Lucas was laughing too. Really laughing. His whole face lit up with joy. He was showing another little boy, Tyler. The same Tyler he had bitten. His painting. Tyler was pointing at it and saying something, and Lucas was nodding enthusiastically. I stood there watching, frozen. This was my son, happy, engaged, social, playing nicely with the child he had bitten just a few days earlier. This wasn't the miserable, traumatized child I had imagined. This was a happy kid having fun with his friends. Miss Rachel noticed me up the window and waved me in. The moment Lucas saw me, his expression changed. Not to happiness at seeing me, but to something else. Anxiety, maybe, or guilt. He quickly looked away, back at his painting. I walked in, confused by what I had just witnessed and by his reaction to seeing me. Miss Rachel came over with a warm smile. "Hi, Mrs. Thompson. Lucas had such a great day today. He and Tyler had become good buddies. They've been playing together all week." I looked at the 2 boys, now smearing paint on paper side by side, chattering away in their toddler language. "Really? After the biting incident?" Miss Rachel nodded. "Oh yes, actually I wanted to talk to you about that. Do you have a few minutes?" I agreed, and she asked one of the assistant teachers to supervise while we stepped into the hallway. My heart started racing. Was there another problem? Had Lucas bitten someone else? But Miss Rachel's expression was kind, not concerned. "Mrs. Thompson, I've been teaching toddlers for 12 years, and I want to share something with you that I've observed with Lucas. He's a wonderful, sweet, sensitive child. But I think the transitions are really hard for him." "The transitions?" I asked. "The shift from home to school in the morning, and from school to home in the evening. I have noticed that Lucas gets very anxious right before drop-off and right before pickup. But during the actual day, when he's settled into our routine, he's happy and engaged. The biting incident happened right after morning drop-off, during that transition time when he was still regulating his emotions. I thought about that. About how he always seemed fine when I picked him up until the moment he saw me. About how the meltdowns at home always happened in the evenings and mornings, the time surrounding daycare. I think," Miss Rachel continued gently, "that Lucas might be picking up on your anxiety about leaving him. Toddlers are incredibly perceptive. They feel what we feel. And if you're feeling guilty or worried when you drop him off, he feels that too, and it makes him feel like there's something to be worried about." Her words hit me like a truck. Was I the problem? Was my guilt and anxiety making his anxiety worse? Was I creating the very situation I was trying to protect him from? "I'm not trying to make you feel bad," Miss Rachel added quickly, seeing my expression. "This is so common with parents, especially working parents. You love your son, and it's hard to leave him." "That's beautiful, but I want you to know that he really is okay here. He has friends, he's learning, he's happy. And I think if you could find a way to feel more confident about that, it might help him feel more confident too." I felt tears welling up. "I was going to pull him out," I admitted. "I have a nanny lined up." Next week was supposed to be his last week here. Miss Rachel looked surprised but not judgmental. Can I ask why? I explained everything. The crying, the meltdowns, the biting, the guilt. All of it. She listened without interrupting, nodding with understanding. When I finished, she said, I completely understand why you feel that way. But can I suggest something? Before you make that decision, what if you tried shifting your perspective for 1 week? What if you spent this last week really observing Lucas during the day when he doesn't know you're watching? We have an observation room with a one-way window. You could come during different times and just watch how he actually is here, not just during the stressful transition moments. I hesitated. Part of me just wanted to be done, to escape the guilt and stress. But another part of me was curious. Who was Lucas when I wasn't around? What was I missing? Okay, I said. I'll try it. That night, I didn't tell Lucas I was going to be watching him. I didn't want to affect his behavior. I just went through our normal routine, though I tried to be more calm and positive at bedtime, talking about how much fun he would have at school the next day instead of anxiously asking if he was okay. The next morning, Friday, I took a personal day from work. I dropped Lucas off at daycare with a big smile, told him I loved him and couldn't wait to hear about his day, and gave him one quick kiss before cheerfully walking away. It was one of the hardest things I'd ever done, forcing that cheerfulness when I felt so conflicted inside. But I didn't actually leave. I went around to the side entrance where Miss Rachel was waiting for me. She led me to a small observation room with a large window that looked into Lucas's classroom. From this side, it looked like a window. From their side, it looked like a mirror. Lucas couldn't see me, but I could see everything. For the first 15 minutes, Lucas cried. He sat in the book corner, hugging his stuffed dog that he brought from home, tears running down his face. It broke my heart to watch and not be able to comfort him. But I forced myself to keep watching. Miss Rachel sat near him, not hovering, just present. She would occasionally say something gentle to him, but she didn't try to force him to stop crying. She just let him feel his feelings. And gradually, slowly, the crying stopped. Lucas wiped his face with his hands. He looked around the room at the other kids playing. And then, tentatively, he stood up and walked over to where Tyler was building with blocks. Tyler looked up and smiled. Hi, Lucas. Want to build with me? Lucas nodded and sat down. Within minutes, they were both absorbed in building a tower together, chattering about what they were making. The stuffed dog lay forgotten in the book corner. Lucas was completely engaged and happy. I watched him for another hour. He transitioned smoothly from blocks to circle time, where he sat and listened to a story, raising his hand to answer questions. Then they did a music activity where the kids danced with scarves, and Lucas was spinning and laughing, clearly having a blast. During snack time, he sat with Tyler and 2 other kids, talking with his mouth full, making them all laugh with some silly face he was making. This was not a traumatized child. This was not a child who hated daycare. This was a happy, social, thriving little boy. And I had almost taken him away from this because I couldn't see past the difficult transitions. I left before pickup time, my mind reeling. I came back on Monday and Tuesday, watching him at different times of the day. Every time, the same pattern. Rough start, but then complete engagement and happiness. Playing with friends. Learning new things. Becoming more independent and confident. On Tuesday, I watched him during an interaction that completely changed my perspective. Another child, a little girl named Sophia, fell and scraped her knee on the playground. She was crying hard. Lucas went right over to her and patted her back. It's okay, Sophia. You're okay. Do you need a Band-Aid? Then he went and got Miss Rachel, tugging on her hand and saying, Sophia hurt? She needs help. My son, my sweet sensitive boy, was showing empathy and problem solving. He was learning how to be a good friend, how to help others, how to navigate social situations. These were skills he couldn't learn at home with just me and Marcus. He needed this. He needed his peers and his teachers and these experiences. That evening, I called Sandra the nanny and explained that we had decided not to make a change after all. She was gracious and understanding. Then I sat down with Marcus and told him everything I had observed. So, we're keeping him in daycare? Marcus asked. Yes, I said firmly. But I'm changing my approach. I'm going to work on my own anxiety about it. Because Miss Rachel was right. He's feeding off my stress. If I can be confident and positive about daycare, it will help him be confident and positive too. I started seeing a therapist to work through my guilt about being a working mother. I read books about working parent guilt and letting go of perfectionism. I practiced refraining my thoughts. Instead of, I'm a bad mother for leaving him, I would think, instead of, I'm a bad mother for leaving him, I would think, I'm a good mother for providing him opportunities to grow and learn. The next few weeks, I focused on making drop-offs calm and confident. I would walk in with a smile, help Lucas put his stuff in his cubby, give him one hug and kiss, and tell him to have a great day. Then I would leave without lingering, without the anxious backward glances, without the knot of guilt in my stomach. It was hard at first. It felt fake. But I kept doing it. And slowly, Lucas started to change too. The crying at drop-off decreased. Some mornings, he barely even hugged me goodbye, too excited to get to his friends. The meltdowns at home became less frequent. He started talking about his friends at daycare, telling me stories about what they did, asking if Tyler could come over for a playdate. One morning, about 6 weeks after I had almost withdrawn him, I dropped Lucas off and he ran straight to the art table where Miss Rachel was setting up a painting activity. He didn't even say goodbye to me. I stood there for a moment, feeling a strange mix of pride and sadness. My baby didn't need me the way he used to. Miss Rachel looked up and caught my eye. She smiled and gave me a thumbs up. I smiled back, feeling tears in my eyes, but this time they were good tears. Happy tears. Because my son was thriving. He was growing up. And I had almost stopped that growth because of my own fears and guilt. About 3 months later, Lucas's class had a little graduation ceremony as they moved up to the next age group. We sat in tiny chairs and watched as each child received a certificate, and Miss Rachel said something special about them. When it was Lucas's turn, she said, "Lucas is one of the kindest friends in our class. He always notices when someone needs help, and he's always ready to share and include others. We're so proud of the confident, caring person he's becoming." I looked at my son, standing up there so proud with his certificate, and I thought about the decision I had almost made. I had almost pulled him out of this environment because I was scared, because I felt guilty, because the transitions were hard. But if I had done that, I would have robbed him of this growth, these friendships, these experiences that were shaping who he was becoming. After the ceremony, I pulled Miss Rachel aside and thanked her for that conversation we had months ago, for encouraging me to observe before deciding, for helping me see what I was missing. She smiled warmly. "I'm so glad you took the time to really see him here." So many parents make decisions based on the drop-off and pick-up moments, which are genuinely the hardest parts of the day for kids. But those moments aren't the whole story. What happens in between is where the real magic happens. That conversation changed how I thought about parenting in general, not just about daycare. I realized I had been so focused on protecting Lucas from any discomfort, any struggle, any hard moment, that I was potentially holding him back from growth. Kids need challenges. They need to learn how to handle difficult emotions. They need to figure out how to navigate conflict with peers. They need opportunities to be independent and make choices and discover who they are apart from their parents. I couldn't give him all of that at home, no matter how much I loved him. He needed the world beyond our front door. He needed teachers who weren't his mother. He needed friends who challenged him and played with him and sometimes fought with him. He needed routine and structure and experiences that stretched him. And yes, sometimes that would be hard. Sometimes he would cry at drop-off. Sometimes there would be incidents and conflicts and struggles, but that was okay. That was part of growing up. And my job wasn't to prevent all of that. My job was to support him through it, to trust the teachers and the process, and to believe in his resilience. Lucas is 4 now, thriving in preschool at the same daycare. He has a whole crew of friends who he adores. He talks constantly about Miss Maria, his current teacher, and all the things they're learning. He's reading simple words. He's doing basic math. He's painting and building and creating. He's negotiating with peers and solving problems and becoming his own person. And here's the thing I never expected. I'm thriving too. Working doesn't feel like a guilty compromise anymore. It feels like part of a balanced life where I get to be both a mother and a professional, where I get to model for my son that adults have passions and purposes beyond parenting. When I pick him up each day, I'm excited to see him, genuinely eager to hear about his day. And he's excited to see me too, full of stories and energy. The mornings are smooth now. Most days, Lucas runs into his classroom without even looking back. Sometimes that still makes my heart ache a little. But mostly it makes me proud, because he's confident, he's secure. He knows I'll be back. He knows he's loved. And he knows he has a whole world to explore while I'm gone. I think about that withdrawal form I had printed out, sitting in my bag, ready to be signed. I think about how close I came to making a decision based on fear instead of facts, based on my anxiety instead of his actual experience. And I'm so grateful I didn't follow through. If you're struggling with working parent guilt, if you're questioning whether daycare is the right choice, if you're watching your child cry at drop-off and wondering if you're damaging them, please hear this. You're not. The drop-off moment is hard, but it's not the whole story. Your child is learning and growing and becoming who they're meant to be, and you're not a bad parent for working. You're not selfish for needing adult conversation and professional fulfillment. You're human, and you're doing your best. But also, if something truly feels wrong, trust that instinct too. Observe. Ask questions. Communicate with teachers. Every child is different, and every daycare is different. What works for one family might not work for another. The key is to make decisions based on reality, not just on the hard moments or on guilt. For us, staying in daycare was absolutely the right choice. Not because it was always easy or because there were never struggles, but because overall it was helping Lucas grow into a confident, kind, social person. The hard moments were worth it for all the growth that was happening. I sometimes see other parents at drop-off who have that same look I used to have. The guilt, the anxiety, the backward glances as they leave their crying children. And I want to tell them what I learned. That it's okay. That their children are okay. That the tears will stop 5 minutes after they leave. That their kids are having fun and learning and making friends. That being a working parent doesn't make you a bad parent. But I also remember that I couldn't hear that when I was in the thick of it. Sometimes we have to figure it out ourselves. Sometimes we have to watch and observe and work through our own feelings before we can see clearly. If you made it through this whole story, thank you for being here. If any of this resonated with you, please share it with another parent who might be struggling with these same questions. Tag a working mom or dad who needs to hear that they're doing a good job, that their kids are okay, that choosing daycare doesn't make them a bad parent. And please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Sharing these real, honest stories about the struggles of parenting helps all of us feel less alone. We're all just doing our best, figuring it out as we go, making imperfect decisions with incomplete information. And that's okay. Our kids don't need perfect parents. They just need parents who love them, who keep showing up, who keep trying. I almost made the wrong decision for my son because I was so focused on protecting him from discomfort that I couldn't see how much he was benefiting from the very thing that made me uncomfortable. But I'm so glad I paused. I'm so glad I took the time to really see him, to observe his full experience, not just the hard parts. That withdrawal form is still somewhere in a drawer in my desk. I keep it as a reminder. A reminder that things aren't always what they seem. A reminder that hard transitions don't mean wrong choices. A reminder that sometimes the best thing we can do for our children is trust them to handle challenges we wish we could protect them from. I almost took my son out of daycare. I'm so glad I didn't.